Williams veers left, pulls up, looking for the lead, and he got it. Jalen Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11.109. Now SGA probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in to post-game recap. Give me one moment while I post that we are live. Usually I try to do that during, but we're here. If you are joining the chat, welcome. We have just ended a very sad, emotionally draining game against the Golden State Warriors. Prior to that fourth quarter, it seemed like the main topic of discussion was going to be the Chet Holmgren injury that happened today that we'll show in just a moment if you missed it. But fourth quarter completely changed everything. People joining the chat. Chin Hong, very sad, just says sad. I agree. The wrong Roy, hope the big man is okay. I do as well. We just got word from the Thunder media people that Coach Dagnall has no news on a injury update yet. So we're going to have to wait probably until tomorrow, it looks like. Maybe a little bit later tonight. But if you're in the chat, welcome. If you would like to vent, feel free. I know I'm going to a little bit as well. But yeah, first thing is first, let's talk about the injury. If you missed it, we put a video of what happened on our Twitter. So I'll show you that now. It was a pretty awkward landing. Give me a sec while I'm trying to pull that up while I talk. Here we go. So ultimately it was just a normal contest on an Andrew Wiggins drive. Kind of got caught with his feet out from under him, landed pretty heavily on that right hip. It also looked like he got kneed in the thigh by Wiggins, just by happenstance. So it's hard to say what the result of that was. The one thing that also happened was while being brought to the locker room, was not able to put any pressure on that right leg, which is a little bit concerning. But yeah, it's very scary for the Thunder. And obviously you could kind of feel that the vibes were off after this happened. So all we got tonight was a right hip injury, no specifications. He was not in the rest of the game. That happened in the late first. Did give the thumbs up there if you missed it in the video. But yeah, wasn't good. And for reasons, if you've been watching the following along with the injuries so far, we now have no Isaiah Hartenstein, which is now about 1 to 3 weeks away from an update there. We have no Jalen Williams, Will. He'll be reevaluated in, I think, another week or two after that. And now Chet Holmgren is out. No information yet as time of recording this when that's going to be, what the extent of that timeline. And then you also have on top of that, Kenrich Williams, who's your kind of, not your other big, but a guy who can play in that position, who's also been out this whole time. So you're looking at very slim options, which essentially boils down to either Jang at the 5, which granted he's been great in his limited bench minutes against bench 5s. He has been good there, but to ask him to go up against the starting 5, against Zubac, who we're going to play tomorrow, that doesn't seem like a recipe for success. It's either that or you go ultra small ball like they did a lot today as well because they had to. You just throw out like Dub at the 5, or I think they even had like, I think Isaiah Joe was technically the 5. It's concerning. And Goat816 in the chat says he doesn't think he'll play tomorrow. I don't think so either. I mean, it just feels like even if it's best case scenario, a contusion or a bruise and not something broken or something pulled or, anything worse like that, I still think they don't play him. He's clearly not going to be 100% if he couldn't play the rest of the game today. One extra day is not going to really change much. So, yeah, we're just going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait. So the Chet injury at this point is after that loss is kind of the main thing that we're looking at. Thunder Digest saying, I will give Chet my hip. I as well. We can collectively give all body parts that we need to this man to let him play. Save him at all costs. I don't need my hips. I barely get enough exercise as is. He can have mine, however useful that is. So yeah, we're just thinking about him, and he posted on Instagram afterwards, just rooting on his teammates. But it's not very clear what's going to happen there. I think if you're a Thunder fan, we on this podcast like to be pretty level-headed, very rational, very don't try to jump to the skies falling and doomsday and all that. But I think it's safe to say that without him, without Chet, without any of our big guys for the next couple of weeks at least, that's worrisome. That's very worrisome. I don't know how you can really match up with a lot of teams. And just to give you a little bit of a projection, besides just tomorrow, what we're looking at here, it's the Pelicans, who are also very badly injured. Zion is now out. So, I mean, by the way, the injury bug has been crazy. Not just with Chet, Zion, Ja, KD, sucks. Just sucks. But anyway, the Pelicans on Wednesday, they're also hurt. Suns on Friday, like I just said, KD is hurt. So, I mean, like, they're also not 100%. And then you've got, I think, the worst case would be if Chet's still not available a week from today when we play the Mavs, because that is, I don't even want to think about that. I'm not even going to think about it. You know what? They have Gafford and Lively, and not having Chet makes me very anxious. So I'm not even going to think about that. We're going to wait to see what happens. We're not going to go there. Okay. So, but that's a little bit of a preview of what we're looking at now that we have this new update. So we'll see in the next couple of days. But let's talk about what else happened. Chin in the chat, Shea was off. Agreed. So, fast forward to that fourth quarter where Thunder went on an 11-0 run to cut it within 15 to 17. It was on the backs of the bench, like legitimate bench guys. You had like AJ Mitchell and Dylan Jones out there. I think it was Caruso, Isaiah Joe, and maybe I think Kaysen was the fifth guy in that rotation. But yeah, those five just really did a great job. And Thunder Digest, like in the chat, talking about the positives, Kaysen Wallace, absolutely. He was igniting the Paycom Center with those threes later on in the fourth when it was legitimately a comeback, or a potential comeback, I guess. So major credit to this team in general for even putting yourself in that position, because that end of the third quarter, we were just like, let's just sit Shea, dude. It didn't feel like there was any hope at all. And for them to be essentially within a single digit lead at that 4-minute mark or whatever it was a great situation. I mean, the best case scenario at that point. But I thought, my phone keeps falling. I think Shea just was off tonight. It was frustrating because he was getting the shots he wanted, those sort of mid-range shots where he sort of just rises up and he hits them, and he just wasn't hitting them. And it wasn't that it was that well defended. I mean, Golden State has a pretty good defense overall, but like those particular shots down the stretch where he got to where he wanted weren't well defended. He just missed them. And not having a big man like Chet to get rebounds there really hurt. I will say credit Dylan Jones, like he filled in those rebounds in his minutes really well tonight. I thought he did a great job there. I know he at least had one offensive rebound during that stretch. I thought he may have had two. I'd have to double check for sure. He did have two offensive rebounds. It looks like those were actually they were both in the fourth quarter. So yeah, his rebounding was awesome and crucial, just being like in the right spot, the right time. But the shot from Shea was just not falling. And then the other guy I thought just didn't play well was J-Dub. I thought there was some stretches where he got the team back in it. He had that and one late to put him back into single digits. I think it was like to make it a 7-point game, but the one play that really sticks in my mind now, given the loss, was that that last sort of drive, or the last play before the Steph three that really ended it, where they went up by 10 with a minute and a half. The play before that was when J-Dub had the ball and he just sort of didn't know what to do with it, and he kind of turned it over, and then that was kind of the end. And it was like, okay, you need to be more of a shot creator. So here's my stance on this. I was in our chat, our Topic Thunder chat, and I was pretty mad at not so much Shea, because you have missed shots every game. It's a hit or miss league. I was more mad at Dub, and I was, and it's like, I think it's okay and reasonable as a fan to be like in the moment, kind of emotionally invested in the game, and therefore like upset about a certain player or certain players. I get that you don't want to be like, we're not trying to blame certain people, certain Thunder players, but I think like as a fan, and I think like as any sports fans, I think being emotionally invested and initially upset about something or someone is fair. This is not like a personal attack on anybody. It's just like, hey, they didn't have a great game, and that's what it is. So I don't want this to come across like shaking my fist at Shea and Dub, and it's like, how could you, and all that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, they're your guys that are supposed to step up. They didn't, and I think that's like fair to call out. So anyway, I don't like the fact that we can't be invested in that way. I think it's fair to point and say like, hey, this guy needs to do better, or this scheme needs to be better, because you're emotionally invested in it. It's, again, nothing personal. So my point is just to say that like, I didn't think Shea or Dub were great when they needed to be. When the chips were on the table, when it was the last few minutes of the game, they weren't good. And that is what it is. So yeah, Alex in the chat, the fourth quarter grit up to that point, awesome. I mean, it felt like that, like I said, felt like that was going to be a game we just sort of write off, play all of our bench guys most of the fourth quarter, and credit to that lineup, like I mentioned earlier, the two rookies and like Caruso and Kaysen and Joe, I think was the other guy. Like those guys did it and got them to that point to start. The starters came in and sort of kept it going. Again, Kaysen Wallace was a huge part of that. Those threes were so massive. Dort was getting threes as well. Dort was also getting offensive fouls. It felt like every other play. They were getting turnovers. They did everything perfectly. And it was at some point like a 27-6 or 27-7 run. It's just like the best case scenario. So it's just tough when it's there and you just can't get over the finish line. So, and yeah, Goat 816 in the chat, off night for Shea does feel like bad news for the Clippers. The last time Shea had an off night against the Nuggets, our last loss, turned it around in here in Oklahoma City against the Rockets, like we talked about on Friday. I'm expecting the same, but again, it really comes down to Chet's health long term. I didn't think the defense was bad when he was off, but it definitely didn't look the same. I think it's fair to say he's like the anchor of that defense. And when you're asking these other guards to play those positions that they normally don't play, it's going to cause a lot of wear and tear on them. And I think it really limits how intense you can be every play. I also thought that probably just the vibes were off because they just had their main defensive guy go out for an indefinite amount of time at this point because we don't know, or an undefined amount of time, I guess I'll say. So, that's probably not great for the vibes. I thought they were a little bit mentally like lapsed a few times. So I think, defensively, it just wasn't what you normally expect, but also with Chet out, you think that's probably to be expected. And you also have to credit Steph for just playing a great game. Like, it didn't even matter how good of our defense was on him. I thought we played pretty well against him, but he still was 7 of 13 from three. I mean, the Warriors in general have just been shooting lights out. They ended up almost 50% from three today. It was only that stretch where we had that run where it felt like they actually came down to earth. But like they're playing so well, shooting so well. Buddy Hield was what was he, 5? Or no, that was D'Anthony Melton was the guy who was just out of this world, 5 of 8. I haven't really been keeping track of D'Anthony Melton, but that feels like a little too high. Draymond was hitting threes. He just is a good 3-point shooter now. He's like 40+% this season. Jonathan Kuminga was 2 of 4. Buddy was 2 of 5. Aaron Wiggins was 2 of 4. Like what is that? Six players with multiple threes tonight. I mean, and again, it didn't feel like their perimeter defense was bad. It just felt like they were getting really good shots, or making really good shots, I should say. Donato, yeah, Shea did look off today. We were mentioning that earlier. The Shea shot was not hitting, and you don't really know why. He just had kind of an off game. Yeah, all the stars are hurt. Yeah, Paolo included. It's just whoever wrote the NBA script, dude, freaking loves injuries. I don't know what to tell you. Sucks. I mean, it's not just our team. Like, if you're a fan of any team, you want your best guys going up against their best guys, and it's for our next 2 out of our 3 games, that's not going to be the case because of the Pelicans and the Suns. I don't think the Clippers. Well, the Clippers, Kawhi, I guess he's also not playing. So, yeah, we're not playing the best lineup for any team the remaining week because those guys are all out, and we may not have our own. Well, we definitely won't have our best lineup, but we won't even have our next best lineup potentially this whole week either. So it just sucks. It's just bad, all bad, no good, poo-poo, stinks. Really stinks. Not much else you can say there. So I'm going to lean on the fact that Chet's not going to start tomorrow or play tomorrow. And with Zubac for that Clippers team, who's already been playing super well, I don't know what they're going to do about that. We may not have an answer for him. But it'll be interesting. Kenny Hustle, I don't know what his updated timeline is, Jay, in the chat, but he was warming up today pregame. He looked pretty good. I've got to expect it soon. I don't know, though, how much he helps with this Chet situation. He's kind of just like the same as Jang position-wise. I don't think he's going to really be able to provide impactful long-term minutes at the 5. It's really making sure one of those other 3 guys, and Chet, Ihart, or Jay Will comes back soon. Right now, you'd assume the best option to get back soonest is Chet, but who knows? It sucks that we won't get an update for a while. I was kind of hoping we'd get one before we logged off here, but it does not look like it. Yeah, Brandon Raybar has not had any updates in the last 20 minutes. So Yeah, that's about it. I don't even know if I mentioned the final score. It doesn't even matter. But I think it was 127, 119. 127, 116, excuse me. So that's loss number 2. We're 7-2, still good. I think because the Warriors are going to be ahead of us now, obviously, because they're now 8-2. I don't know where the Suns were. Suns are 8-1. No, we're 8-2. I'm sorry, not 7-2. So yeah, 8-2. So we are going to be tied with the Warriors, and the Suns, I think, they're very close in a very close game against the Kings. So if the Suns pull it off, they'll be in sole first. If they lose, we'll remain in a 3-way tie for first in the West as of Sunday evening. But we'll be back tomorrow, and with or without Chet, we're going to try to pull off a win at Paycom. Honestly, prefer that we play them into it because the Clippers suck at home. But we'll see. All right, that's all I got. We'll see you guys later. Thanks you all for tuning in. Be sure, even though you may not have liked the game, be sure to like this video. And also subscribe if you're not subscribed. I think only a little bit more than half of the people that watch are subscribed. So that means statistically about half of you listening right now are not subscribed, and it's completely free. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can get our next post-game live stream sent to you so you don't miss it. You can be in the chat again. All right, that's all I got. Thank you all for tuning in. God bless. Hoop when you can.